Calculators, centios off into the corners beyond our chairs. 5, 3, 2, and 1. A square with a side of 6 inches has an area of what? Corey. Good. That same square has a perimeter of what? Ring of king. Volume. That same square has a perimeter of what? Ring of robbers. A square with a side of 6 inches has a perimeter of what? Robert.
24 inches.
Good. Grand king. Volume. A rectangle with sides of 3 inches and 7 inches has an area of what? Caleb Postless. Good. That same rectangle's perimeter is what? Ariane Hopkins.
20 inches.
Good. A rectangle has sides of 20 and 10. Its area is what? Ranisha.
200.
Awesome. Its perimeter is what? Miracle.
8 inches.
Its perimeter is what? Raquel. Volume. Its perimeter is what? Rashad. A rectangle with sides of 20 and 10 has a perimeter of what? Jaquay. Has a perimeter of what? Ruby.
60.
Thank you. Jaquay. Rashad. A rectangle with sides of 2 and 5x has an area of what? Isaiah.
10
Good. Its perimeter would be equal to what? Raquel. A rectangle with sides of 2 and 5x would have a perimeter of what? Raven. A rectangle with sides of 2 and 5x would have a perimeter of what? Delta. Its perimeter would be equal to what? Brianna Rogers.
10x plus 4.
Good, we'll try that same one again. A rectangle has sides of 3y and 6. Its area would be equal to what? Trey. A rectangle with sides of 3 and 6y would have an area of what? Jared. Good. Right. That same rectangle with sides of 3 and 6y would have a perimeter of what? Caleb Posey.
12y. 12y plus 6.
Awesome. Have a seat. At the top of your notes, listen carefully. Next to where it says measuring angles with a protractor, write the note A with a little degree sign. The letter A with a little degree sign stands for angle. So we're assigning or labeling a variable. A with a little degree sign stands for angle. So this is what your paper should look like. Okay, we're going to use A through our notes as our variable for angle. Okay. First type of angle. What does that expression mean? David.
Less than 90 degrees.
Needs less than 90 degrees. In your algebra book, this is what you're going to see. What's an acute angle? Well, it's an angle less than 90 degrees. In your 7th grade book, you might actually see it written this way. Okay? What's a right angle? What do you think I have underneath there? Robert?
Equal to 90
Repeat for me.
degrees. A is equal to 90 degrees.
Okay, what do you think I have underneath it?
For our tools, there will be A is greater than 90 degrees.
What you said, I couldn't hear you.
For our tools, there will be A is greater than 90 degrees.
No, not obtuse.
Oh.
Right. So, right, we have angle A is equal to 90 degrees. Top, you see what you would see in an algebra book. Below, you see what you might see in a 7th grade book. Obtuse angle. A little bit different. What does that mean? 90 degrees is less than A, which is less than 180 degrees. How could we translate that in the 7th grade language? Ruby.
If more than 90 degrees and less than 180 degrees.
Okay, so let's write that. Tell me what's right in quotation marks.
More than 90 degrees.
Okay, so I see A, when compared to 90, is greater than it. So we have more than 90 degrees,
But less than 180 degrees.
but less than 180 degrees. I'm an angle on 131 degrees. What kind of angle am I, Corey? Value. I'm an angle. My angle measure is 131 degrees. What kind of angle am I, Rashad? What kind of angle am I, Delton?
An obtuse angle.
An obtuse angle. I'm an angle. My measure is 90 degrees. What kind of angle am I? Ariana.
A right angle.
I'm an angle. My measure is 98 degrees. What kind of angle am I, LaQuisha? Obtuse. Give me an example of an acute angle. Nori.
Less than 90.
Give me an example of acute angle. Deja.
90 degree angle.
Excuse me?
30 degree angle.
30 degree angle. Give me an example of a obtuse angle. Cliff.
180 degree angle.
Good. Okay. A straight angle. A, where the angle is exactly equal to 180 degrees, it forms that straight line. Okay? And then finally, we have a reflex angle. Reflex angles are greater than 180 degrees. You see the example up top? The key is to notice, and you might trace over with your pen, that this angle is this one right here, the one that goes past the straight angle of 180 degrees, not the angle on the inside. Okay? Today's class, we want to be able to classify angles as one of these 5. We also want to be able to measure an angle with a protractor. Okay? So we're going to start with our note just below. It says to measure the degree of an angle, use a protractor. So get your protractors handy. Remember, if you have one at your table, there's this little lever in the middle to help you pick it up off of the table. Okay? Because it kind of gets stuck. So, I have a purple protractor. Alright, we're going to start with this acute angle measure here. I'm going to start with the vertex of the angle and draw a little dot. Mimic that dot on your paper. Next thing I'm going to do, similar to when we created circle graphs, I'm going to put the circle over the dot and make sure that my line is directly lined up with the line segment array on the angle. Okay? Now from here, the angle measures up this way, but the line actually doesn't go all the way up. So this is what I want us to do. I want us to actually stop, go back to that angle, and extend our line. Okay? I want us to have the most precise angle measures in the state of Missouri. Okay? And so we're going to actually extend that all the way up. So let's try this again. Now when I go, I see that it directly falls through approximately what angle the degree measure? Deja.
45 degrees.
45. How many agree, Deja? 45 degrees. Does anybody think it's about 135 degree angle? How do we know which one to use? That's as big with measuring these angles? How do we know which one to use, LaQuisha?
Because the one that's closer, like close on the inside, is the one you use when the angle is like below 180, and the outside is the one you use when it's above.
I'm going to take the protractor away. It's something about the way that the angle is shaped, right? It's something about the way the angle is shaped. Armand, what do you think? Track Armand. Give him some confirmation if he's correct.
That if the angle is acute, you use the lower numbers, and if it's obtuse, you use the higher.
What do you think? See some numbers. Track and Isaiah in the back of this confident.
In the middle of the protractor is 90 degrees because it's a right angle.
Okay.
And 90 degrees it goes straight up, so the dot all the way up.
Last try, Deja.
Well, I think that it changes, you get to 180. Well, it don't go.
Okay, so let's take a look at this angle. On this angle, the vertex, right? One of the lines shoots out to the right, or does it shoot out to the left?
Right.
To the right, right? So when we look at this angle, right, we see one of the lines shoots out to the right, okay? And so that means that we're going to start on the right side, and we're always going to start with 0. So when we look at this angle here, because we're lining it up with a line that shoots out to the right, with a ray that shoots out to the right, right, we're going to use this side. If we label this 45 degrees, correct? If our angle shot out to the left, right? So shot out to the left, then we would use the 0 starting on the other side. Okay, so we'll practice with using both sides of our protractor. Right angle, do I need to measure that with my protractor? What's the measure as a class?
90 degrees.
Okay, who can set me up to measure this obtuse angle? What should I do? Specific directions. Kayla, go ahead. Dot on the vertex.
And then make sure it match up with the project.
Awesome.
And then take the bottom of the project and then draw a line to the end of the paper.
Okay, so I want to make sure that we have one of the most precise angles in all of the state of Missouri. And so I'm going to extend that so that it hits my protractor. So that it goes right underneath the measure. And then Kayla, I'm going to go back, and then what do I do?
And then measure.
Measure. So I'm going to start over here and go all the way up. I see I passed 90 at the top. I continue over. Kayla, approximate that angle measure for us. What do you have? Hand signals. Do we agree? Ooh. See a lot of people disagreeing. What do you think, Ruby?
I feel about 118 or 117.
Ariana, what do you think?
I said 115.
Okay. What's the range of our answers right now? What's the What's the range? Raise your hand. Kayla said 120 degrees. Deja said 118. Ariane said Ruby said 118. Ariane said 115. What was the range of our answers that we just gave? Reagan? Just 5 degrees, right? We're probably going to be okay if we can get within a range of 5 degrees. All of those answers are going to be super, super close to the correct answer. Kayla, I'm going to go with you. I've got 120, looks pretty sharp on my paper. Okay? Straight angle, do I need to measure?
No.
As a class, what is it?
180.
Reflex. Okay? The last note at the bottom of your paper, or at the bottom of our note section. Read it for me, loud and proud. Anaya.
So we actually look at degree of an angle with that protractor.
Loud and proud.
Oh, to measure a reflex angle, measure the smaller
Adjacent.
adjacent angle and subtract from the
Okay, so we're measuring reflex angles. First direction, measure the angle that is smaller and adjacent to the reflex angle. So that angle that I just drew right there